Hello. We've been asked, as we're in the midst of this expansive listening campaign, to show people what this is before you respond to a phone call and say yes to a one-to-one. We thought you should have some sense of what that might be. And so in this short time, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, Pastor Ryan and I are going to have a one-to-one together, and we'll give you a sense of what this is all about. So I'll turn it over to you.
And today I'm going to be the listener, and Jonathan's going to be the person being listened to. And so I'm going to start off with kind of how I start off one-to-ones with people, so you kind of get a sense of maybe if you're not sure, like, how do I start this thing with someone, So, all right, you ready, Jonathan?
I'm ready.
Well, Jonathan, thanks so much for meeting with me for this one-to-one. Just a little bit about what we're going to do with our time. Like I said, this is a one-to-one, and basically what that means is, like, I just want to build a relationship with you, get to know you a little bit better. Ideally, like, you'll do a lot more talking than I will do.
Okay.
I'm going to ask some courageous and curious questions to try and just get to know you a little bit better, and hopefully, we'll learn some things together.
That sounds good. Good.
Great. Yeah. So I was wondering if you could maybe start off with a story. Think back to a time when you were in your childhood, a significant moment that kind of comes to mind. I was wondering if you could just tell me about a significant moment, when you were a child.
Yeah. Let me think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why this came to mind exactly, but...
and just trust whatever comes up. That's fine, yeah.
I'm an only child, and so I'm sort of accustomed to playing, or was accustomed to playing alone and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But I had a very close relationship with a lot of my cousins. In fact, I have bunches of cousins, and we would gather at my grandpa and grandma's house in a small town in northwest Iowa. And I remember there was a day that my cousins and I were playing, and it was time to go home by the end of that day. I don't even remember what we were playing, but it just felt very connected in the time we were playing. And I remember being in the car and being so incredibly sad that I wasn't going to see them again for a few months, because we gathered every couple of months together. And I remembered that longing for the presence in connection with them. Again, I have no idea why that's the memory that came to mind, but that just snapped into my head as we were driving away in the car. I just remember sort of like, I was in the back seat, and I probably should have had my seatbelt on, but I kind of got down in the floorboard and I just sort of curled up. I was sad. I was really sad in that moment.
Wow.
This has gotten sad for me.
That's significant. Wow. Was that something you experienced very often, like feeling like that level of sadness, or like was that like a common reaction for you?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I think of that as one very vivid moment in my life, and it was a reminder to me. I mean, I think to this day it still surprises me of how deep those relationships were. I don't think I knew that even as we were saying goodbye, but as I reflect back on that, something about that day, and again, I can't remember what we were doing. It wasn't the activity, it was just that really deep connection with people who were close, but they still lived 30 miles away or a couple hours away.
Tell me more about like connection and why that. I mean, that seems like that was really important. You brought up the word connection a lot.
People have often asked me, did you miss not having siblings as an only child?
What a weird question.
I don't know. I never had siblings.
Yeah.
But I have to think about this for a second.
Okay. Yeah. Take your time.
I was always happy to play on my own. I always knew that I had adults supporting me
Mm-hmm.
around. I had
Mm-hmm.
friends in the neighborhood, friends at
Mm-hmm.
school, friends at church.
Mm-hmm.
Never always knew exactly if I was great at connecting with other people, feeling kind of awkward with who I was, and at times even being more comfortable sort of playing on my own in an imaginary world of my creation. But also knowing a deep desire to have those places of knowing that I shared life with someone in meaningful ways, that there were really deep connections. That's always been very important to me, to have not a million friendships necessarily, but those that I do have, that I know there's a deep level of understanding, that there's trust, that if I shed a tear or I say this is how I'm really feeling, that I'm not going to be shamed or judged in that. And I think that was, I'm going back to the story with my cousins, or leaving them, that really, I think that's what I felt with them, and that's what I had. And even in that absence, it felt like I didn't have readily available access to that deep sense of community.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and I heard you, I don't know, kind of expand on like what it means to be connected in a sense. Like you use words like trust and like I guess like a sense of like, maybe you use words safety, but I kind of heard like there's a sense of like safety and
I would add that to that. Yeah, I think that's good listening.
Yeah, and I kind of heard at the tail end of there, you're saying like that wasn't always the case. Is that right in your life? Like you didn't always have that in?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it was ever absent. I think it was as much the awareness of that, or the nearness of that. So, like I said, there were always others around.
Yeah.
And I think through my church community, the youth group I was a part of, there was a bit of that, and so I found some trust and comfort in that.
Yeah.
But I deeply value those places where that is real and available and present. I think that's the word I keep coming back to, is the nearness of those kinds of relationships.
Yeah. Well, I hear, there was something like different that happened in that moment than maybe what was normal for you. Is that?
Yeah. And I don't know why that was.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can't really pin it down to any specific thing that that brought on that response. But there was something real about that.
Yeah. I'm going to ask maybe a little bit of a courageous question.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, do you feel like, I don't know quite how to phrase this, but like, are you missing that at all in your present life? Or like, do you feel that in certain places in your present life? Like similar feelings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like kind of fast forward now, I guess is what I'm curious about. Yeah.
That's a good question. I do feel that in some real ways. Being clergy is a weird gig. You know this. We're told to share in people's lives at the highest moments and the most vulnerable, most tender moments of life. And we're also told, but you got to keep some distance. And there's good reasons for all of that. That has been an interesting place of navigation in ministry. But one of the things that I've found, even, last Sunday we shared the news about Blue, and I went to a very vulnerable place in front of the congregation where sometimes you feel like I'm supposed to hold this all together and not be that present. I was also mourning. We had to put our own dog Penny down the next day, which was yesterday from the time we're talking right now. And I felt incredible support and care and trust from people in this congregation.
Yeah.
Some retired clergy, and so we have a little bit different relationship. That I may be the pastor of the church they're at, but they're to get into the polity here, they're members of the annual conference too, and so we are peers in a way that is a little different. Some support from them, some care from members, someone who came to be with Charles while Stephanie and I went to the vet with Penny. You asking me this morning when I got here, how are you after yesterday? I, in an odd way, feel like I have a lot of that place of connection where I don't feel like I have to pretend that I'm something that I'm not, or that I can stand in front of the congregation and be me, and might even lead to some really good conversations afterwards where someone just says, all right, how are you in this moment? And so I think, and beyond the church as well, but I think particularly, a big part of my life is being a pastor. I, in some, however it's happened by grace or otherwise, have found a lot of those meaningful connections in a place where I'm told, be with others in all the highs and the lows and keep the distance. I felt like this congregation has really allowed us to thread that needle well together.
Well, it sounds like even if maybe you're not able to quite pinpoint the why it's important for you to have these things, like you could probably look at some of this and think, well, like, duh, you're a human being. But like you found that space of trust that you need, I guess, is what I'm hearing.
I think I have, and it's a source of energy and care, and it feels, it just feels really good knowing that. As I go back to that moment of laying in the back seat of the car, I don't even remember what age I was, but I was young, and I didn't quite have a sense. I didn't think it was finality, that I wouldn't have that anymore, but that longing for it to be now. And so I think, I'm thinking back to that story, and as you've asked about now, I feel a lot of appreciation for this moment where I do feel a great deal of care and support, and good language would be love. I feel loved.
Good language is that it's love. I like that.
I think I do too.
Well, it sounds, it sounds like to me like it's important for you to feel loved by others.
Absolutely it is.
And again, like, what a very human thing. Like, we all need that.
That's a relief.
So don't worry, folks, your pastor is a human being. Well, I'm looking at the time. We said we would kind of wrap up, and we had a time limit and stuff like that, so it's been great talking with you. I feel like I've learned some things, and again, I'm glad to know you're a human being, even though you're a pastor. And thanks for your time, for helping me learn a little bit more about you, Jonathan.
Well, I really appreciate this, and if I can sort of step out of the scene for a moment. Like, I know we were doing this to sort of help you all out, but this is really endearing, and I think there are some places where those were stories I would not have connected on my own, and so I appreciate you making the space for that. And so hopefully, as someone invites you to a one-to-one, it will be an opportunity for deep connection for you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.